This is Starfield, Shattered Space. We're here on Xbox Series S. Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. So I wasn't sure if I exactly wanted to dive into showcasing this expansion on the Series S, or if I should just do the Series X, but I was kind of taking a look at it, and I thought, hey, we should give people an idea of how this sort of looks and runs on the platform, for this particular console, and a little bit of what the expansion is like gameplay-wise. So, to start, you basically just do a grav jump off into the distance. You'll all of a sudden have a distress signal, and you will be flung off onto this station where you will be attempting to figure out what exactly is happening, what's going on, and that's kind of the mystery at the beginning of this adventure for those that are diving in and taking a look at it. And eventually you'll end up on this planet here, and you'll be dealing with the snake people, those that crave and love the serpent. And the serpent will essentially be this sort of guiding aspect as to what your adventure is here, where you will be talking to people with a lot of exposition going on. A lot of exposition. And then from there on, you kind of be doing different missions, some little adventures, some missions a little bit better than others. And you'll be fending off against varying factions, robots, zealots, crazy sci-fi like glowing enemies. And that's sort of the main aspect of this one, is trying to survive and figure out what caused this great problem and how you can come in and help the local population sort of deal with that. So this is, to me, it's okay. It's generally solid, expansion wise. Like, it is more, I would say, for the hardcore Starfield kind of fans. It is more of a traditional Bethesda experience in terms of being something that takes place in literally one area after you do kind of the initial opening, I guess you would say, interaction. At the same time, that sort of is a little counteractive to the idea of Starfield, which is about exploring a galaxy. But I know a lot of people were really wanting to have something that is more of a traditional Bethesda experience. And I think to some degree we did get that here. But yeah, it was a little overly, I would say, kind of focused on just like this tight spot. In the beginning of it's really quite interesting, with like this sort of really glowy, neat space station. And then as time goes on and you get some really cool missions here or there's some side missions. And some of it just isn't quite as, I don't know, enticing and as crazy as I was sort of hoping for. With such a vibrant, colorful world and design, I was hoping for something a little trippier, gameplay-wise. And something with a little bit better performance, because, woohoo! Even, I think you've been maybe seeing it here on the Series S, but, yeah, it's kind of a little, it gets really fuzzy and low resolution, which is what the Series S is. But usually it's, you know, the performance at least is a little bit better, and that wasn't quite present here. I was expecting something to pop out here because it teleports you around this stuff, but I was expecting some enemies to like appear that we could like sort of shoot and stuff like that. So it does seem like the Series S, at least for me, has been a little bit more stable. Because on the Series X, I had 27 crashes playing through the several-hour story. Is this? No, that's someone else. I thought that was my dead body. I was like, ooh. Through the several-hour story. So you get like a decently chunky amount of gameplay out of this one. I was just hoping something a little bit more, I don't know, mind-blowing or different was going to be present here. What is going on? Because it did seem like they did kind of play some of it a little safe. There were some parts where some characters would just like blab and blab and blab, and then you don't really get to spend any time really getting to know the characters. They're just sort of there, and you know, it's the usual kind of thing where you come in and you're like this big hero for like 2 seconds, and then you know, you just kind of go on about your path. And I don't know, I felt like they could have played off of that a little bit more. Gameplay wise, they definitely could have done something a little bit more enticing with that aspect of it. And again, psychedelic, hypnotic, something that would have been, I don't know, a little bit more enticing from a narrative standpoint. Like, it's okay, like, it's pretty decent and solid, but as I said, I was sort of just expecting something a little bit more oomph, especially since this is like the first big expansion. I'm hoping that there's going to be more. I don't know if we have necessarily confirmation on if that's going to be the case, but you know, like I love Starfield. I'm actually a big fan of it, but even I kind of sit here with this expansion, I was sort of just like, oh, okay. And I know the crashing probably impacted my opinion of it in a very negative way. For sure, but outside of that, also gameplay-wise, if I look outside of any crashes, because apparently I'm the special person that has those kind of things, you know, it was solid. You know, if you can't get enough of a Starfield and you need something new narrative-wise to sink your teeth into, this feels like a natural additional part of the game that kind of dives into the lore of one of the factions in an interesting way, like the snake folks that run the House of Run. Like, when you're playing the main game, you're kind of sitting there being like, oh, I would have really wished we could have had more info on this faction. It seems like all the other factions have, like, a good, detailed kind of quest going on, and then these guys, you just, you know, they're sort of more, like, alluded to, if anything, you know? You don't really get context into it, and then the game kind of ends, and you do all the side stuff, and you're like, oh, well, I guess there just wasn't anything about them. And then bam, we've got this expansion here that is all about that house and the houses within it. And you know, that aspect of it was kind of cool, was being able to come in here and do that. And it was neat to visit like a crafted, like a clearly handcrafted city with people and stuff like that you can interact with. And you know, they slightly use the surrounding area for some of the quests, and there was some neat levels. Like there's one with like hostages and stuff. Like there was some cool things and some cool visuals. I just again was expecting, I don't know, something. My spraying became worse. Great. I was just expecting something a little bit more. I don't know. I feel like there's so much potential with Starfield and the universe of what Starfield provides, and this just kind of felt like another little extra story that you would do within it. I was just sort of like, oh, okay, that was cool. Like, I enjoyed learning more about the lore. I enjoyed, you know, kind of getting a deeper look at it, and any excuse to spend more time in Starfield is nice. And these backdrops are, like, stunning. Like, the art direction. Oh, the art team for this game, for this expansion. Oh, firing on all cylinders here. I mean, even if you're not necessarily caring about what I'm saying or anything like that, I think if you've been visually, like, just taking it in this whole time, video-wise, I think you can agree that, like, there are some really, really, really beautiful, like, backdrops, and the ambience here on this planet is simply beautiful. It's really, really neat. And you can leave at any time, too. Like, you don't have to, you know, specifically work through this story or anything like that. You can come in and start it, meet some characters, and it can just be like a little thing along the path. So it fits nicely into the existing experience that you've likely had with Starfield, where it is, as I said, just kind of another thing. But you kind of, for me at least, when you think of big expansions for Bethesda titles, you kind of expect them to be these huge, game-changing, big moments that you remember as, like, defining quest lines and adventures, and that's just kind of the vibe I usually get when I'm taking a look at, like, Bethesda games. And, you know, whenever a big expansion or DLC drops, you kind of have that big thing. But I wouldn't mind, you know, maybe, like, once a year getting, like, several-hour story elements. I think that would be really, really cool from, you know, from Starfield, just kind of seeing the world, the universe getting expanded by this. just kind of these handcrafted adventures that we can go on, these handcrafted journeys that we can enjoy, that kind of give you a little bit more detail and stuff. Because I do think the strength of Bethesda games usually are the adventuring into places that feel lived in and distinct and exciting. And Starfield has so much potential in that regard, being something that you could endlessly kind of do stuff with. I don't really necessarily expect them to. I mean, someday they'll probably want to do a sequel. They've got other projects they've got to work on, but I think... I didn't want to pick up a spacesuit. Ugh. I think that kind of gets a point that, or gets my point across, though, that I think it's sort of ripe for doing more stuff like this. I just think that they're probably going to have to create something a little bit more compelling from a narrative standpoint that really is like, you know, a must kind of play expansion thing. Because I do think people that aren't into Starfield already, this isn't going to really change how they feel about the game, which should be the goal of these expansions, is to entice and excite people that, you know, kind of maybe weren't fully into it or were kind of into it but didn't, you know, really feel like it totally connected with them. That should be the point of these expansions, to be like, see, we're doing stuff that's new and different, but something you really like, and, you know, also pleasing existing Starfield fans. And I think they do need to maybe go a little bit further with it. I don't know. I don't know if my expectations were just too high, but I thought it was okay by the end of it. Like, I definitely enjoyed the journey, and it was nice to have something, I guess you would say, meaty to dive into again for Starfield, because, you know, I've completed, like, basically everything. I've done basically everything that's really, you know, stuff that you could do in this game. And I've been waiting for more, and I was kind of like super hyped about this, because I was like, oh, finally, you know, something I can sort of sink my teeth into this game. And man, this crashes were just brutal. Like, I just like, some people I really think underestimate how annoying it can be with, especially like the load times and stuff like that, dealing with such an array of crashes where it's really impacting your ability to, like, even enjoy, like, any part of it, because it's constantly, you know, sort of breaking down in the worst ways. I'm trying to get over to that building, but I really don't think the game wants me to get over there. Why are the shotguns so inconsistent? Like, I'm trying to, you know, I'm trying to, like, make a mark here and kill these guys and be all cool looking, but when you're missing shots like this, it's kind of embarrassing. Yeah, I don't know if I can actually get up there, as to say. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find the fractured limb gained. Aw, that's no fun. Nobody likes to get a fractured limb. Okay, I give up on trying to get there. We probably have to get to an elevated spot and kind of like float down. But yeah, no, it's got like a cool vibe. There's some fun little side adventures you can find yourself getting into. There's a good variety of new weird enemies. There's some like quirky spots. There's some surprise spots. There's little hidden like fun things here or there. Like, I think they do a good job. I don't think that treats the wound I have. Yeah, I'm cramping because I've got like a limb injury, so I actually need something that's like good for my particular limb. That? No, that's not it. Yeah, there's gotta be some kind of injector thing that I can use that kind of like fixes my poor leg that's all damaged. Emergency kit, that's not it. Emergency kits are important. Frostbite and burns. Heal paste, frostbite. Infuse things. Treats burns, contusions. No, what if you've got, like, you've destroyed your leg? I need, like, a splint. Midnight Delight. I mean, that sounds great, but that's not exactly... Oh, Paramore, that's fun. Penicillin, that's not infection. I've got, like, a knee injury. Nothing for bones? Wow, okay. Zipper bandages. I have, unless I looked over it, I have absolutely nothing that can help me with these poor bone injuries. I guess sometimes what it really needs is time. Psst. I don't know, but I kind of liked it. I think it was solid. It was decent. I think I've kind of gone over specifically who this would be best ideal for in terms of whether you would really get into it. I still think the base game of Starfield is great. I've got a fantastic review of it. At least I personally think so on the channel, if you want to get an idea of like the core game and everything like that. But this really was focused more on the idea of like what this expansion is. Is this something you could get into? I didn't know if I needed to take a look at it on the Series S, but I hope that it was helpful for some people to kind of, you know, get an idea of what it has to offer gameplay-wise. I think it is kind of important to also take a look at it on that platform too. And I don't really usually know for expansion stuff. Like, I know Starfield's a big deal, and it's something I love covering regardless, so I don't mind taking a look at it multiple times from different like platform perspectives and stuff. So yeah, and it was kind of neat because I had the Series S up doing other things because there was things going on. So that's why I thought it was like a pretty easy showcase here. What's the gold? That's kind of cool. It's like a package thing. Saying you get these like cool cosmic fights. Yeah, I really wish people could see the excitement and stuff that I see for Starfield. And I just kind of, even myself, I wish that there was something a little crazier going on that would really give it that big like refresh moment that everybody like it clicks with that it didn't click with prior. Because it really does have some cool stuff. What are you doing out here, Zamra Velik? You gonna kill any of these guys? It looks like they don't even... She's just gonna start running away. Look, I don't even know why she's out here. This is not a safe place. But there's some crazy things that happen. There's some cool stuff that goes on. I think those that dive into the snake thing will have fun with it. There are some particularly cool spots in it that I think really stand out. You know, I loved the visiting like an abandoned, semi-abandoned space station, which was massive and had some fun little surprises to it. Seeing all the little, you know, kind of solving how to get through it, and that was really neat. And then doing like sort of a trial of the snake people was really, really quite cool. See, it's stuff like that that makes it really interesting. But then you get to like points where there's these long, drawn-out situations where you're just kind of like, someone would just blab to you for like 5 minutes straight, and you'd just be like, what is going on? And then you wouldn't really care about the character at all because you don't get to spend time sort of meeting them, if that makes sense. Like, you don't get to actually spend time interacting with said character. So it kind of defeated the purpose of that aspect of it, because like you don't really fully get to know the different factions. You just kind of get to know some of the characters a little bit here or there. And that's the weird thing, is it's like there's such potential to like do cool world building and stuff, especially in a universe of unlimited planets. I don't know, maybe modding will be able to take that a little further with some characters and some interactions with people. I just like, I'm always looking for something... Oh, that's this guy. Something that kind of takes it to that next level of gameplay. But, you know, for the Series S here, I think you're going to probably have, from what I've been experiencing and stuff like that on this version, some of the same issues that I had on Series X, just in terms of, like, the, you know, frame rate. You're going to see a lot more resolution dips and issues on like the Series S. Like, it's really, really fuzzy. But interiors look a lot better, which is nice. And it was mostly just to give you a good vibe of the world, the gameplay, what it has to offer, what this type of place is. I think it's got a great atmosphere and vibe, and the art direction and the music's so beautiful. It just needed a little bit more of a push from a maybe a narrative standpoint and or a gameplay standpoint to really kind of make this... What are you doing out in the middle here? Make this even more exciting and crazy. And yeah, there's something to enjoy. There's something fresh for fans to dive into if you're kind of been like, oh, I need more Starfield before diving into it, or I want something familiar but a little bit different. This one's not too bad, but I hope this covered Shattered Space for you pretty well.